Sight Wrestling Podcast on the one and only 411 Podcast Network.
To the 411 Foresight Wrestling Podcast on the 411 Podcasting Network. We have a special episode today, so do not tune out right now, folks. Let me first introduce to you Steve Madsen, Resident Complex. What's up?
Hey, how you doing? We're at the Resident Complex on the YouTube and everywhere you can buy music. Go check that out. Nice to be here. Nice to have that the lab again.
We are at the lab.
Here we are.
It feels good, and this is going to be a triple threat because this week we have joining us once again everyone's favorite, Holly.
Woo!
Yes.
Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
All right, we're going to kind of skip the TV shows this week because I'm not sure we necessarily were a fan of them or really paid attention. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I had a little music thing going on this weekend, and I was kind of taken up by that, and I just did not pay attention. I breezed through Raw, and to be honest, I completely missed SmackDown. I caught up a little bit on the interweb later, but yeah, I didn't pay attention.
Not a fan of the wild card rule?
No, not really. I don't see the point. I mean, then why even have two brands?
Yeah.
You know, and why change it on the fly from 3 to 4?
Yeah. Or actually 5 or 6.
You know, to be honest, there was one of these things, one of the dirt sheets that said, "Dear Vince McMahon, please retire."
No, that's not going to happen.
I know it's not going to
He
happen.
came up with the idea after the SmackDown Live guys came into the show. It's like he didn't even have the idea to
Right.
start with.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was more so, ratings. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. Fox wants guys on their show for SmackDown, and USA wants all their stars on Raw. So what is Vince to do?
Right. Did I read correctly? I don't know if this is true or not, that they want something of like 3 million viewers per episode.
It's 3 million plus, and actually this week, and well, the AEW, that's going to be next week, but it's the the upfronts and everything, and this is where you set your ad dollars. This is where you set your advertisers and your revenue, and you set it for the fall season. So, we all can make fun of Vince and all this, but he's getting stuff breathed down his neck too, so he's got to answer to someone too.
Well, he's got to answer to shareholders, but I mean, 3 million viewers ain't gonna happen.
On Fox,
gonna happen.
with the sports plugging them Thursdays and Saturdays, I don't know. It'll be tough. It'll be tough, but that's what he's got to deal with. So the wild card rule, obviously confusing and screwed up in last minute. But this week we're going to skip the shows, and we're going to do a little bit of a top 10 list. And Steve, you want to kind of explain what we're doing here?
Well, you know what? Out of boredom, maybe that was what I did instead of watching, but I thought, let's look at some, there's been a wild array of characters lately. Let's take a look at some characters that you most likely forgot.
Okay.
So, I want to what's that? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people are trying to forget these days, but that's a different story.
This is a throwback to when I was a kid. A lot of these are.
Okay, I will quick say before you get to your number 10 and then I get to my number 10, I will say I had a hunch, and I may be wrong about this. I've been wrong a million times in my life, so I may be wrong about this, but I'm thinking yours is going to be maybe more old school.
Yeah.
And maybe like quote-unquote gimmick character-wise, so I wanted to make mine a little different, so I kind of meant more current and not necessarily gimmicks, but maybe, guys or stars that we just don't want to remember.
Absolutely. And you're dead on. All of mine are actually characters. And in fact, some of the characters actually went on to have long, successful careers as other characters. So it's more of just like gimmicks, I suppose, and like
all right.
throwback to remember the
when.
good old days of comic books. And
Now I'm curious.
all right, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Are we ready to jump right into it?
Kick it off. Number
All right.
10.
Number 10. This was one of my absolute personal favorites, and when he only showed up for a little bit, I was sad. We're going to talk about Max Moon.
Ooh.
All right, Max Moon was this colorful spaceman. He wore a mask with some weird braids coming out of it, and when he'd walk to the ring, he'd shoot fireballs from his wrist, and then he would walk up to the ring, and instead of just stepping up like a normal human being, no, he had to fire his jetpack and hop up every stair, so his entrance was really long.
Right.
But I mean, but he did some awesome moves. His name was Paul Diamond.
Paul Diamond.
And he was a fantastic wrestler. Like he did a lot of the aerial stuff before aerial stuff was like, hey, commonplace and all that. He was doing moonsaults. In fact, I think that might have been his finisher because he was Max Moon.
Okay.
And then he was Maximilian Moon. And they tried a couple of names, and it was sad. But his real name is Thomas Boric, but he's Paul Diamond. He was also, if you recall, the Orient Express. He was Kato under the mask.
Okay.
He kind of was around WWE as a talent for a good long or WWF at the time, World Wildlife.
Right.
He was around for a while, so he had put his work in, and they finally gave him a push. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work. I think his most memorable match was he fought Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental title on some television, and no, just that was it for him.
Okay, I'm typing in Max Moon and see Conan, so I don't know if we're thinking of different guys or what, but I'm going to go to my number 10, and I'm sure you will remember him. My number 10 is Kazarni.
Oh, you know what? All right, I guess we'll jump to my number 8. Let's talk about Kazarni.
Already skipping around. What do you think of Kazarni?
Weeks and weeks of vignettes of unintelligible dialogue.
Yes.
Using old carnival. I was intrigued by the idea of like the carnival character because I actually did some research, and that's how professional wrestling got started. It was a carnival attraction.
Right, the Carney Act.
Right, and they used that little language, the Carney talk, to pass messages to each other without informing the crowd.
Yeah.
So he comes up, and it's just completely unintelligible. I can't understand what he's saying, but the character is all has one match, wins it, and then is never heard from again.
Yeah, he got upset. I think it was a few years ago. WWE.com did a list of worst characters or gimmicks or whatever. And
right.
He was on there and took offense to it and all this big stuff.
Well, I mean, that's what happens. Now let's give credit to where credit is due. Sin Bodhi has done some amazing things on the independent circuit.
Right. It's just, this is where it comes in with gimmicks and stuff where, like you said, some of these guys had bad characters, but they went on to do other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my number 10.
Oh, Kazarni.
Kazarni.
Wow, the good old days.
Impact tried something later on, and I didn't like that either. So
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the carnival thing.
I think it's best left to the historian, kind of to memory and
keep
stuff
it in
like
the past.
That. Yeah, exactly. Kind of bringing that stuff out now is like you just don't get it. It doesn't go over.
That's like a
well.
mid-90s type thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a comic book.
Wouldn't have worked.
Right. All right. So my number 9. From the farthest corners of your mind, we have Damien Demento.
Oh
man.
I thought you were going to say Damien Sandow first.
Nope, not yet.
Whoa, not yet.
No, he should be in my...
That is...
But I like Dame, but he had some stuff.
Damien
Demento. He was last seen leaving the far corners of your mind and talking to something above him and getting tombstoned by The Undertaker on Raw. And that was the last we heard of him. I think it was the first episode of Raw.
He has the distinction of being first main event of Raw, January 1993, I'm sorry. He lost to The Undertaker, but he can always have that place in history.
Yep, but hey, Damien Demento was one of those I think his finishing maneuver was he pulled a foreign object out of his tights and put it in his knee pad and hit somebody with his knee. And
really?
Yeah, that he was a strange character.
That'd actually be kind of cool for Daniel Bryan to do or something.
Oh,
he's got the running knee. He's gonna change the tag belts,
I'm waiting for that.
Him
I'm
and
waiting
Rowan.
for that. Yep, him and Rowan. Good for them though. All right, you're number 9.
My number 9.
Well, wait, we got a disagreement here.
Holly's laughing. Holly, would you like to speak up?
I don't really like Daniel Bryan's new character.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I honestly am not a fan, but I think that's the point.
I think he's trying to bring Rowan up. I'm almost worried though that Rowan is bringing him down. Rowan is bringing Bryan down. But Bryan came back and immediately lost the rematch. To Kofi. So it was like, well, what are we going to do now? And Kofi's facing Kevin Owens. And we had talked about this a few weeks ago, but I think one of the mid-card titles needed a top star to carry it and kind of bring it back. And
Absolutely.
if the Hardys were hurt, Daniel Bryan's obviously a big enough name where anything he does now, whether it's Heavy Machinery or another Usos or whatever, it's going to mean something.
I'm actually kind of excited for the reign of Daniel Bryan and Rowan as a tag team because I think they can lend some credibility back to that tag team division. You're right. I think he's going to change the title. They're going to do the whole gimmick over again, and he's going to have somebody supporting him, kind of being his enforcer while he pulls out all the dirty tricks. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, there's a funny video of their quote-unquote first photo shoot with the new titles.
Uh-oh.
And Rowan, they each get their solo shots and then them together.
Right.
And Rowan is literally standing there holding the titles, and Brian's like off to the side yelling, "You're beautiful, Rowan. You look great, Rowan."
That's hilarious.
It's the funniest thing ever as he's just hyping up the big man. All right, my number 9. I'm not even sure if this is right, so if I'm totally butchering this, then my apologies. But the rally towel, Ricky Ortiz.
Ricky Ortiz, tell me about him.
Was this during the ECW talent thing or whatever, where they had the new talent initiative or something?
Oh yeah. He was. I don't remember Ricky Ortiz.
Yeah, this is when Kofi debuted.
Oh wait,
Sheamus.
wasn't he like he was like super supposed to be like this great thing?
Yeah, he tried to like rally everyone up. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you necessarily remember him or not, but.
He looks familiar.
He didn't do much, it was just another one of those guys. And yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the guy with the towel, but I don't know. He wasn't very good. And I
did nothing memorable.
Nothing memorable, but I will say though, that was just one of the ups and downs of the new ECW is you were going to have the Sheamuses and the Kofis and different people that were working. And then you're going to have the guys that necessarily did not work.
That swing a towel.
Like Braden Walker or,
Orlando Jones.
Orlando Jordan. Or,
is that it?
I don't know.
Elijah Burke.
Oh, Elijah Burke, right. So you're going to have different people, and that's just trial and error. Not every star can become a main eventer, so.
Right, exactly.
So that just comes with it.
All right. Well, you stole my number 8.
That's okay.
So this will bring up my first honorable mention of Duke the Dumpster Droese, somebody that we love to make fun of as one of the last job characters.
Yes.
He just, boy, did he try, and he comes out swinging a garbage can around and burp, burp.
Well, I can relate. I've been called garbage, so I get it.
You just will not let that go.
I will never let that go.
Because that made it to a picture on Raw.
Worldwide TV, I was called garbage. How nice.
Was that specifically directed at you, or is that Photoshop?
No, that was an actual sign.
Wow.
Yeah, I had no idea. And yeah, turn on Raw and see that.
Was that a Raw in Milwaukee or
no?
Wow.
Kansas City. I still remember.
Kansas City.
I'm worldwide, man.
I'm impressed. Did you know we were in the presence of greatness?
No, I didn't.
Wow.
What are you talking about, man? She's right here.
Oh, I think that qualifies as a shot.
Shot. That's greatness. Compliment.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to be talking about her all night anyways because she's right here. So, I mean, if people took the shot every time you talked about her, they would die tonight.
That's true.
So we have to kind of come up with a different game. That was overly sappy. Take a shot.
Speaking of, where's that Jameson at?
It's right over here.
I was kind of kidding. But
all right.
Whoa, wait a minute. Holly may be, well, here we go. Take a shot, folks.
Are you driving?
I am driving. I got this one. All right, were you done with your Duke the?
Yeah, I was done with Duke. Yep, I was done with Duke a long time ago.
I think we all were. All right. Speaking of ECW, my number 8 is DJ Gabriel, the disco. DJ. He came dancing with a rollerblades, and Alicia Fox debuted with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just another one of those. ECW was trying all this crap out, and I don't know if it was sci-fi or. They obviously wanted different type of things for the new show. And DJ Gabriel, once again, I don't know if you know him or not, but after Alicia Fox, if you remember, she did the whole Edge thing during the wedding to Vicky. She was the wedding planner gimmick thing. But, yeah, just another guy when you just type in, guys that did nothing. But I think it was like early 2009, I want to say. I'm not really sure about that. But, it got Alicia Fox in the door, I guess. So
that was what she did before the Edge thing?
I think that was what she did after. She did that. And then they're like, well, that gimmick ain't gonna last long once the Vicky Edge thing goes. So
Right.
it's like, well, what do you do? Then she was gone for like 6 months,
And then she came back
and then she was a
psychotic.
dancing disco queen, and then
Oh, and then she went nuts.
and then she went nuts. And actually, she ended up winning the title. I want to say in like
Oh,
2010.
yeah, that's right. She was a former champion.
She's a former champ. I think she won it at Fatal 4-Way 2010. I want to say.
And did what with it?
Absolutely nothing. But I
Yeah.
will always say, her. What is it the axe kicks or whatever the Booker T?
Oh yeah,
finisher?
the scissor kick.
The scissor kick.
Yeah.
When she came down, like I forgot if it was like Mickey James or someone in like 2009 or 2010.
Yeah.
I mean, the person just like turned to jello, and it looks like she just like paralyzed them when she came back, and it was just boom, and then you just see her. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
She was always pretty vicious.
Right. All right. So, on to number 7.
Number 7, what do you got?
Now, you forgot about him until recently.
I did.
Well, no, not you personally. I'm just saying
Oh.
the out there, them.
Them, the listeners.
This has been forgotten until recently. He's formerly known as John Nord, but we like to know him as the Berserker. Huss! Huss! Huss!
Oh,
Nice
right.
Viking warrior. First introduced as the Viking, and then came out as the Berserker. John Nord, or Yukon John, or Nord the Barbarian. He went all over the place. He was actually in Japan. He was in WCW, but the Berserker was what he was most known for. Had a feud with The Undertaker that nearly saw The Undertaker impaled by a Viking sword. Oh,
What?
yeah, that thing came down and stuck in the mat. Obviously The Undertaker moved
I have
out
not
of
seen
the way.
this.
Oh, yeah. Go back and watch. What was
Oh,
it?
does he like come down like to stab him and he moves?
Yeah, and
Okay.
and like the thing sticks in the mat, and they were like, "Ooh, he could have killed him."
Yeah, I quick Googled this. He says he's from the Great North Woods, also Iceland and parts unknown.
Yep. Parts unknown was a common
I love
common
parts
thing.
unknown.
It's a great place. I mean, you got the Warrior, you
Yeah,
got
that's where they all hang out.
the Boogeyman.
Oh, the Boogeyman. I forgot about him.
Nah, nobody forgets about the Boogeyman because he's coming to get you.
He's coming to eat some worms or something.
Right? Exactly. All right.
Well, my number 7, I'm prepared to catch some flack for this one.
Uh-oh.
Bring it on, Brad. Bring it on.
Oh boy.
None other than Stardust. Sorry. I figured-
man.
I figured we could maybe kind of segue this into some AEW talk with their news
Yeah.
coming up about Turner, but
Right.
I didn't like it from the beginning.
But it was not his fault.
I was actually initially told it was his idea. He's always kind of been creative. The mustache, the dashing.
Right, dashing Cody Rhodes into the...
Right, he always kind of had the different things like Legacy, and he's done the different things. So I was actually told that this was his idea, and later on, obviously, no. So you slowly felt bad for him, and yeah, he made like some Money in the Bank matches at WrestleMania. So he got spots still. He wasn't like nobody, and his match with Goldust was kind of shoved on a Fastlane, which wasn't
Right.
very good. So that kind of gives me pause why everyone's excited about this upcoming match. But whatever, we can forget about that. But yeah, I never liked it, and it's not too surprising he left.
Right.
Cody. So sorry, I was not a fan of Stardust.
I don't know if I was necessarily a fan of Stardust, but I kind of... I was like, oh, man, at least they're giving him something.
Yeah, and I never liked when they called him as a tag team. I think they called him like Gold and Stardust. It was never
Yeah.
Goldust and Stardust.
Yeah, that never sat well with me either.
Gold
yeah.
and Stardust.
Right.
And yes, my mic does sound a little weird. I don't know if you're fixing that or not.
Yeah,
but-
I'm working on it.
Okay, it was always just, I don't know. Cody Rhodes, had 1 million pounds of potential and could do anything. And then just to see him doing that, it didn't really work with me. And I always knew he could do better. And that's why I am excited for what he's doing next. And as we've talked about now for almost a month, the upfronts, Turner is going to be next week. And that's when the news is going to finally be revealed about their TV plans.
Yep. It's coming up, and let's see what happens, right?
Let's see what
that's all we
happens.
can really do. Is it seems like they got a lot of pieces in place. And I get what was the? Did they announce how it's going to be viewed double or nothing yet?
It'll be on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But I'm just more focused on the TV side because, I mean, honestly, does it really matter if the pay-per-view does that well or not? It's, going to be $40-$50. So it's all about their TV deal. It's all about what happens in October. And my only minor concern, and this is a good concern to have because obviously any company would want to be on TNT and primetime and all that as a startup. TNT does air sports and multiple nights. So Tuesday and Wednesday, are NBA.
I just watched a certain Bucks game on TNT.
Uh-oh,
Go
yeah.
Bucks.
You're going to be watching more Bucks games.
It's going to be awesome.
Champion. So I'm just, would it be bad if they're preempted every few weeks or, if they want to go every week, they may have to be kicked back till 10 or 11.
Right.
So they do have to share some space if they get on TNT.
I mean, but I think that they're going to do well, at least that first year, because people will be
the
curious
first
as
show
to
I
what's
think will
gonna
do
go
big.
on.
And
Right.
I don't want to say it'll beat Raw its first week in ratings, but it might, and then everyone's going to flip out, and then it's going to kind of come back down to earth.
But I don't know. Maybe they'll do it right, and we'll actually have some decent competition.
Right,
and
and that's always good.
Back to the Monday Night Wars, except it'll just be a weekly thing.
It'll be a weekly thing. I think they're smart in not saying it's a war, but then actions and having the pep rally outside Jacksonville at SmackDown tells you well they are taking shots.
Yeah, exactly.
I would kind of probably try to stay away from doing that. Honestly, I don't know. I don't really like the whole let's take shots at each other. Impact did it for years and little inside shots at everybody. I never liked it. Just focus on your own product. Just tell a good story, tell a good feud, and have a good match. That's all we really need.
Maybe once in every 5 or so years, have like an inner company kind of battle. Some kind of build up, like a Survivor Series or a WrestleMania or something like that.
And Vince is going to be distracted with XFL. He's not going to retire or step away or anything. But XFL starting in 6, 7, 8 months, he's going to be doing that. So it honestly, I know this might be a bold prediction for 2020, but. Triple H is new school. It wouldn't shock me one bit if he did have a little relationship with them and be like, hey, we can borrow you this talent and you can do that. It doesn't seem like it now, obviously.
Right.
You slowly see, ROH, TNA, Impact, all these
New
things.
Japan.
They slowly end up on the network or guys come in for interviews or even if you remember Christian went to Slammiversary a few years ago for Flair going to the Hall of Fame. So they're more than open to doing that stuff if it benefits them as well.
Right, exactly. And it's just more content for them. To put on their network that people are craving and paying for.
Right, and I really don't think it's going to be a quote-unquote war. I think it's just AEW fans kind of getting ready to battle, and let's take down the evil corporation and billionaire Vince, and it's kind of a pipe dream. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So that was my number 7, Stardust.
Stardust.
Yeah, it's good old Stardust.
Well, we like Stardust. All right. Number 6 is a soft spot in my heart. Mantar. Does anybody remember Mantar? He was half cow, half man, part minotaur. He came to the ring in a giant bull head that had horns and fur.
Yes, he did.
And he would take this thing off and he'd have his eyes painted black and he had this kind of barbarian suit or something like that. And every now and then in his matches, he would stand up in the ring and he'd go, "Oh!"
Yeah, he was 6'2", 400 pounds apparently.
And I found it funny because there was one of these matches where he was a lumberjack. It was a lumberjack match where they surround the ring. And he was one of the lumberjacks. And they're doing this match and doing all this flying. And every now and then, Mantar's like, "Oh!" just out of the blue for...
I'm not surprised that he's kind of forgotten.
Was he Hacksaw Jim Duggan's son?
I have no idea.
I was joking with the
Oh, no, because he went, "Ooh."
Oh, right.
He was like mooing, but without
I
the
see.
M. I don't know. It was weird. It was Mantar. And
I
you just,
definitely see him.
I think he did a Royal Rumble or a Battle Royal, or he did not do much at all, but he was Mantar.
By the way, this has been, it's funny you mentioned that, but this was kind of a topic I saw. It's kind of like, what would you want to do? And one of them was, would you rather be on the kickoff show, like you personally,
Yep.
would you rather be on the kickoff show of WrestleMania or be one of the 30 Royal Rumble entrants? I mean, these days, actually the kickoff show is seen by more people at WrestleMania than the main show. People don't know that. but obviously it's the
The
distinction
Royal
of
Rumble.
kickoff. But Royal Rumble is one of 30 people, and I've always loved the Rumble. So
I mean,
would,
the Rumble is my absolute favorite match of the year. Like time and time, I could watch those over and over and over again.
and just the countdown, 5
right,
seconds,
right.
and then you're
Who's
standing
it gonna be?
and then you're standing behind the curtain, and I don't know. Obviously, I would say WrestleMania just because it's WrestleMania.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean,
But-
geez, there's.
But how about this? Kickoff at WrestleMania, some battle royal where you're nobody, no entrance, no nothing, you're never seeing it from again. Or Royal Rumble, and you get to eliminate one person.
Ooh.
Forever in the history book.
Sure, I'll take that. Just
All
'cause
right.
It's the Rumble. I mean, it's the Rumble, man.
I would pick that one too.
Yeah. See? She's got a good
See?
head on her shoulders.
Holly knows what's up. Speaking of what's up, my number 6. Once again, I'm ready for any flack you want to give me.
Oh, here we go.
So this isn't necessarily going to be, I don't know, it wasn't really a gimmick, but I'm going to count it just because I feel the need to mention this.
All right.
So remember Paul Heyman, guys?
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
jeez.
Well, Curtis Axel.
Oh, ouch, man. He's still doing stuff.
Right, with Bull Dallas. All right. Curtis Axel, May 2013. Paul Heyman came out, and I just watched the promo last night. He came out and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your Sports Center moment. I want you to remember where you were when I made this announcement. I want you to hit the record button on the DVR. I'm about to introduce my next Paul Heyman guy." And then it got all quiet, and then the fans were all obviously rumbling with who's it going to be. And then Curtis Axel came out
Yep.
in absolute silence. And then Paul Heyman said, "Good. I expected that reaction. But here's the thing, folks. That reaction is going to change in a few weeks when you see what he's all about." And then Triple H came and slapped him in the face, and he was immediately done for. And Curtis Axel, as a Paul Heyman guy, led us into Ryback as a Paul Heyman guy.
Yep.
And people may forget this, but Cesaro was also
I don't forget that.
Cesaro was a Paul Heyman guy. And then they kind of stopped, and then they realized, okay, this thing's not really working, and
Right.
Paul Heyman does not exactly have the greatest success. When you also add in Nathan Jones or even a Matt Morgan from 2003 from SmackDown, and even A-Train was a Paul Heyman guy.
Boy, now you're reaching.
I am reaching, but bottom line, my number 6 was Curtis Axel as a Paul Heyman guy. The company tried, and I know he trains with The Rock. He trains with guys to get him ready.
Right.
So he's obviously a valuable asset. He's Mr. Perfect's son, so we don't really need an explanation there. But, I've never seen it with him. I still don't, and of all the guys, he's one of the few where I will straight up say I don't see it.
Yeah.
So it just kind of sucked for him that he was kind of thrown into that spot. And everyone likes to say, well, Triple H immediately stomped on him. Like, no, Curtis Axel wasn't going to make it with or without Triple H. Sorry.
I mean, he did have the legacy behind him.
He
and-
did end up getting an Intercontinental title reign out
Right.
of it. But again, that was still the first month of him as a Paul Heyman guy. So, of course, you had to do something with him.
Right, exactly.
And it was on Father's Day, so
Yeah.
very nice moment for him. I'm not going to take that away from
And
him.
I do like
obviously.
the throwback to Mr. Perfect's music that he used.
I
That
like the
was-
music.
That was nice.
And everything was good. Even Curtis Axel, certainly better than Michael McGillicuddy.
That was bad.
You could even throw that one in the new Nexus or
Oh, yeah.
the Core.
Yep. Oh, yeah, right.
The Core.
I remember when I was going back through some of the old pay-per-views and I was seeing some of that and I was like, what is this core? I was watching Rumbles from
Oh.
passing. What is this core
Was it
thing?
2011?
One of them. I don't know. I went back and watched them all because I like them.
Oh, yeah. I always go
I
back and
got the
watch the Rumbles.
Right on.
All right.
All right. Well, number 5. Haven't heard from this guy lately, but you have heard his music. We're talking about the Patriots. He used Kurt Angle's music before Kurt Angle said it was cool.
That's a good one.
Yep. He had a stint in Global Force Wrestling where he was their champion for a while, and got up to the the big promotion, WWF at the time, and really just kind of floundered. I think they pegged him to be, Hulk Hogan's replacement for a minute. And
Yeah, I was just going to say, Del Wilkes, apparently, a lot of people behind the scenes did have high hopes for him and, thought a lot of him. And, he kind of fell into the wrong crowd and all that. But
Yep. He had some issues and some problems, and they started to have to get healthy because I think Vince was going through his court thing at the time.
yeah, and at least he brought the music.
At least he brought the music, right? We got some good old American hero music out of it.
And it's just another, the time where it was kind of, I don't want to say gimmick, but that's kind of the characters they were going for at the time.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know if he was necessarily forgotten, but he just kind of didn't do anything.
Right. I
Too
think
much
he had a
potential.
match or two with Bret Hart,
Yeah,
and that was about it.
I would agree with that, and that's funny because it kind of leads into another guy on my list who's my number 5, who kind of fits with the Patriot, where they did have high hopes for this guy, and he did absolutely nothing. So let's see if you remember him. His name is Eric Escobar.
Eric Escobar was. No, I don't remember him either.
All right, fall 2009, he was paired up with Vicky Guerrero.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
After
exactly.
was that?
Nobody remembers him.
Yeah, no.
That's exactly why I was going for this guy. But he started out. He was going on SmackDown, and him and Vicky, they were the new power couple. This was before she went with. She was trying to do something after Edge. At this point, they were done with that, and they were trying. They wanted to keep using her. She had gone home for the summer for her kids. They were done with school, so that's when her and Edge broke up, and they did that whole story. And she came back. Eric Escobar didn't work, and then she kind of after that went into the Dolph Ziggler thing and managed other people. But Eric Escobar, if anyone remembers him, did absolutely nothing. And I want to say 2 months later he was gone, released out of the company, done.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you don't perform as expected and you don't get the reaction they were hoping.
Yeah, he was.
Sorry.
It was like him and Drew McIntyre. They were both trying to build up at the same time.
Right.
And they were both kind of the same. I don't want to say vanilla, but they didn't necessarily have too much of a charisma or anything.
Yeah.
And they were clearly favoring Drew McIntyre at the time. And Eric Escobar, yeah, absolutely nothing. So he's one of those remember when.
Remember when. Yep, throwback.
Nice throwback to nothing.
Thanks for the memories?
Maybe. Leave the memories alone.
Yeah, right.
Great song.
I suppose. Or the memory remains.
Ooh, even better song.
There you go.
All right, what is
All
your
right,
number 4?
Number 4. He did have a long, successful career, but first we knew him as Papa Shango.
Oh, yes.
Mr. I'll put a curse on you, voodoo priest. Scared the bejesus out of me as a kid. Oh my land! He lit a dude's hand on fire, like from 6 feet across the room, or I mean the ring. How do you convince a guy? Okay, so go in the corner and just light your hand on fire.
He's creepy.
We're gonna pay you. How do you tell a jobber to do that? So we're gonna give you like $2,000. Oh, really? My rate's like $150. So the thing is,
so here's the thing:
we're gonna put this stuff on your hand, and you're gonna light it on fire,
right?
And then run to the back.
Perfect.
At
$2,000.
$2,000.
You wouldn't do it?
3?
3?
Well, I don't know. My hands are important to me.
Oh well, yeah.
So maybe 10.
I've burned my hands a few times, but I still wouldn't do it for the money.
Right? I mean, how do you convince somebody to do that?
Hands are important for everybody, sometimes for different reasons, but we're not going to go there.
Well, and then, oh boy. Oh, man. Take a shot.
Take a shot. I'm going to say Papa Shango, obviously, we know what he did later. And
he made
is he
Ultimate
not in the...
Warrior vomit.
He also,
like uncontrollably.
had things...
Oh, yeah, like some black goo. And that was hilarious. I remember I went back and watched that whole episode.
It was like gushing
And
from his head or something.
For whatever reason, Ultimate Warrior had to wear a jacket for this particular promo.
Oh, right,
So
yes.
he runs out there, and then all of a sudden you can see him, his hands in the pocket, and he's squeezing something. And it didn't, work right or whatever, and then all of a sudden it just, like this oily goop or whatever started falling from his head.
Only the Ultimate Warrior. Parts unknown.
Dude, he was. Yeah, they both were. Or no, he was from New Orleans or something, wasn't he? But yeah, he made the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Hall of Famer, and I was gonna say he reminds me of Baron Samedi from the James Bond movies. He also had like the white painted face. I don't know if that's where they got
Well,
it from.
it's a traditional voodoo.
Okay, yeah, because
thing.
he's also voodoo in the Bond movies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that makes sense.
a lot of that stuff that he took to the ring and that he dressed up as, that was actual like voodoo related items and stuff like that.
Okay, that's cool that he incorporated that then.
Yeah, they actually were kind of authentic when they wanted to be.
Another mid '90s character, that,
Right.
You know, let,
His finishing move was the shoulder breaker. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I never understood that move. Wouldn't you just want to like drop him on his head?
Right, do
like-
something to incapacitate him. Just like, oh, you broke my shoulder.
I can't remember who it was, but somebody did like a backbreaker to somebody, but on like the steel steps. So he like, was standing on the steel steps, but then he like put his knee on the guy's back and then laid him on the steel steps. It's like, well, wouldn't you just want to throw him on the steel
Yeah,
steps?
why don't you just toss him on the steel?
Yeah, and I was gonna say that mid '90s, kind of led to WCW taking a victory.
Taking over. Oh, yeah.
Taking over. So nice there. So before getting to number 4, I'm gonna fit in a real cheap plug, my favorite. 411 Foresight Wrestling Podcast on the 411 Podcasting Network, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, all those good places. You know where to find us. And then we're also looking for you to subscribe, rate, and review, and give us those RVD 5-star reviews. That's what we love. Steve Matson, Resident Complex, tell us all about it.
Well, if you don't know by now, now you know. TheResonantComplex.com is where you can find that. Anywhere on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, just type in The Resonant Complex. You can find our debut album, North Avenue, for sale anywhere music is sold.
Excellent. And Miss Holly, do you have anything to plug for us?
Nope.
All right. Well, then I'm going to plug right into my number 4. And the lady I actually have interviewed before, super nice, super cool, and Katie Lee and Paul Burchill.
I remember them. She was like a witch character, and he was supposed to be like her brother, and
They were brother and sister and very friendly, let's
very
just say.
friendly.
Very
Yes,
friendly.
I remember that.
Until Vince was told, no.
Maybe don't do that.
Maybe don't put that on TV. But-
this whole PG thing you're trying to do, that's not it.
It kind of reminds me of Blades of Glory.
I have never seen that. I believe that's a Will Ferrell movie.
It is
so
a Will Ferrell movie.
We're not going to discuss
It's
him.
hilarious.
But I will say, I believe she was Winter in TNA. She went
Yes,
on to
that
do
is correct.
kind of a creepy character. She made a little run, I think, last year, and she hasn't appeared for Impact for a while. But Paul Burchill, and you could also include when he became a pirate.
Oh, boy. I mean,
He was a pirate, yes.
yar matey.
Yes, so maybe
Maybe
next
dodgeball
year.
was popular at the time.
Maybe.
Yarp.
That one I've seen.
Yeah.
That one I've seen. I would also say maybe with WrestleMania 36 coming in Tampa Bay, maybe Paul Burchill, the pirate, can kind of pop back in again, or maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Do you think they can find him? Is he still alive?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Well, this was based on, Johnny Depp.
Oh, so-
Pirates of the
okay.
Caribbean was popular and all that. So
go with what works.
I
Or
guess if
doesn't?
if that's what was going on, and I don't know. I would have liked to have seen more with Paul and Katie Lee. I always liked her. I don't think she got the run she should have in the women's division.
I thought she definitely had a good skill set. I always liked watching her in the ring.
And I don't know if they have to do the brother sister thing. Maybe not. But-
I don't know. Maybe they were like all or nothing. I don't know.
I guess it was nothing then. But
Yeah.
they could have tweaked that a little bit. And I was, just hoping that she got a little bit more. And she never did. So that sucks.
What you gonna do, right?
What are you going to do?
Number 3, had a very successful career as a tag team wrestler. Was I don't believe they're in the Hall of Fame, but they
Uh-oh.
should be.
Should be.
Him with his tag team partner Axe and Crush. We're talking about the Repo Man, formerly Smash of Demolition. Mister, I'm going to sneak to the ring with a tow rope and license plates on my coat. And I think he stole an Intercontinental title once,
Did he?
or stole something. He was part of some stable at Survivor Series. He teamed up with somebody and they won the traditional matches. but really didn't do much beyond that. Other, it was
Repo Man.
Repo Man, awesome music, really cool.
I liked his.
Repo
Yeah,
Man.
wasn't he in the WrestleMania?
In the gimmick battle royal? That's right, he was. Yeah, and once in a while he'd crack people on the head with his tow rope, like he was, or he'd tie him up at the end of the matches. He would like tie him to the ring ropes.
I mean, if anything, screw Papa Shango. This dude looks creepy.
He had tire treads for knee pads. Dude. And he had tire treads like marks on his ring gear. Like, did you get run over, dude? Or are you okay?
It's a Repo Man.
He's the Repo Man, and he's all sneaky. And
Yeah, so for me, like, I don't know. I'm never, like, scared of, like, I don't know, like, things that are too far out there.
Right.
But if they're, like, have a human quality and the things that can actually happen to you kind of thing.
Right.
So this guy looks more human and looks just like a total creep. Like him, I'd be afraid of. But like if I'm watching, like Michael Myers or like Jason,
Right,
I'd
yeah,
be like, well, or Freddy Krueger, like that's not gonna happen. Or Child's Play, like this little doll running at you.
I don't know that. Well,
Oh, that's pretty creepy too, though.
yeah.
So I mean, the things that are more realistic to me would be more scary. So.
I suppose. I mean, especially if. Did you live in fear of repossession, or is that a childhood trauma of yours that we got to address?
It still haunts me to this day.
Well, I mean,
I haven't
we all-
slept in weeks.
we all fear the Reaper.
We all do. Speaking of fear, my number 3.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but
We'll help you.
Hade Vanson.
Okay, I guess we can't help you. No idea who you're speaking of.
All right. If I told you this guy was going to feud with The Undertaker at WrestleMania in 2009, would you call me a liar? Yes, you would. But here's the deal.
Yes, I would.
Okay. Here's the deal. In December 2008, he aired a creepy, kind of like a Mordecai, weird, that's another one right there.
I remember him.
Weird, kind of creepy, dark ministry type promo.
Right.
And he had, he was going to get called up. And he was going to feud with The Undertaker, Battle of the Dark Characters, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And, well, unfortunately, after the promo aired, Vince McMahon bumped into him backstage.
Uh-oh.
And hold on.
He didn't grab his arm, did he?
No, he did not. But he bumped into him and finally met him. And apparently he noticed he was about 5'2", 180 pounds, somewhere in there.
Uh-oh.
200 pounds, 5'6", somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And immediately ended the storyline.
Oh.
And was pretty much, no, that's not going to happen. And then when other people talked to him about it, then, instead of the size, it turned to, well, we don't want Undertaker working with anybody new, which was BS, because Undertaker's pretty much made a career out of working with whoever's new, MVP,
Right.
Mr. Kennedy, or whoever.
Yeah.
And so it didn't really fit. And then it just kind of so happened. And then they kind of, from there, a few months later, segued into the Shawn Michaels thing and started just making up that. And then, of course, we got the greatest match of all time.
Of course.
Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. So I guess it all worked out. But Hade Vanson, yeah, never did anything and then was
Never did
released
anything.
and went from Undertaker WrestleMania feud to gone. One promo.
Best of luck on your future endeavors.
That's how I would imagine my run being on Big
Right.
Brother or a show if I went on. And here's this guy, and first voted out.
And best of luck.
See ya.
You do like that show, don't you?
Big Brother's awesome.
I've never seen an episode.
I'm still waiting to hear back from him, so if you're listening,
Oh,
I
my.
got another week or two to get
Oh,
cast.
my.
Come on, people.
They're still doing that show? Like,
It's on every summer, man. It's great. And by the way, I don't think you're supposed to mention you or, so I may have just blown my chances. Sorry.
oh, well, there you go.
Always next year. My bad.
Twitter never forgets, man.
They never forget anything.
Never forgets.
Trust me.
Are we on to number 2?
We are on number 2.
Number 2 is, I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame, but he should also be in the Hall of Fame. He had a great career before and after this particular gimmick. He was once pegged. It was this guy could have gone one of two ways. He either could have been Mr. Perfect, which ended up being Kurt Hennig, and unfortunately he became the Red Rooster. Terry Taylor, phenomenal wrestler. I remember seeing some of his matches from WCW and other places. Technically sound, just incredible wrestler. Red Rooster, yeah, and I think he had a match at Survivor Series.
I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame.
You saw him like twice after that. I don't know. He just
The Red Rooster.
poor Red Rooster.
What was up with that name choice?
Well, he was a Red Rooster.
Well, he was the Red Rooster, and
Rooster
he,
head and
Yep, they put his hair up in a mohawk and dyed the tips of it red, because that's what you do.
Well, I will say in 1992 he came back to the company. He went back and forth to a lot of companies, and he was called Terrific Terry Taylor.
Right, and I remember him as that too.
So was
Yes.
that better or worse of a name than the Red Rooster?
Much better,
Much-
because we know Terry Taylor. Nobody knows the Red Rooster.
Terrific Terry Taylor.
Yes, Triple T.
Triple T.
You
Hey,
know?
Triple H.
Oh.
I like how on Wikipedia it says third return to WCW, and then it keeps going, and then later on fourth return to WCW.
Yeah, but now he's a NXT backstage guy or producer, like coach type thing, helping all the young guys.
Yep, and then Wikipedia ends with fifth return to WWE.
Yeah, he's a wealth of knowledge for those guys, and I think that everybody down there is probably doing much better because of him.
Yeah,
So-
he's I think it's called the finishing class
Ah,
with
okay.
Shawn Michaels, but
Right.
basically in NXT there's beginning all this, and then when you get to the finishing class, it's basically their cue and the higher ups in the main roster of telling them these are the guys to call up.
Right.
So when they all train, they train together in groups.
Okay.
So obviously, the more experience and guys ready to be called up and working with Terry Taylor, Shawn Michaels, whoever, that's kind of all right. You're going to be getting called up soon.
Right. Oh, okay. That's
So
wow.
obviously, if you want to help out, I know Tyler Breeze helped out with everyone,
Right.
but when it came down to it, he was always in the last class, pretty much ready next time. It's a promotion.
Yeah, and just didn't. Oh,
Didn't.
Tyler Breeze.
Is this a moment of silence for Tyler Breeze?
Tyler Breeze had such.
Is he another guy
had
on this
such-
list or no?
Not on my list, no.
But will he be forgotten?
I hope not.
I hope
I
not.
like him. I thought he had a real shot of being like, one of those mainstays that just was always putting on good matches.
Yeah, I will admit I wasn't a fan of the Fashion Police. I know that's. the
I thought
big
they
thing.
were hilarious in their backstage segments, but
Yeah.
other than that,
And I think today the headline was that Randy Orton was a big fan and actually wanted to be on the show, Fashion Police, but they never fitted in or something. But my thing with the Fashion Police was it just dragged forever when they had that like forensic files or whatever who attacked. And it dragged on for like a year, and then there was like the
Oh, it was-
Ascension.
it was, or was it?
I don't know.
I
Then
don't
they
know if
said
we-
it wasn't.
Yeah, we never found out really, and then it was the Bludgeon Brothers.
Oh right, the Bludgeon Brothers.
Right.
And then they showed up, and that's another
And-
gimmick. Throw them on there.
Yeah,
They won the titles at
Oh.
WrestleMania for crying out loud.
right, and they are.
And now Rowan's with Daniel Bryan as
I'll-
tag champs.
I'll take. Well, we'll
And Luke
see.
Harper is sitting on the sideline for a year.
Oh, Luke Harper. Oh,
Uh, sorry, that's just kind of how it goes.
No.
yeah.
Holly, why are you saying no?
I don't want Daniel Bryan and Rowan to win the tag titles.
Well,
They
they
already-
already won
they
them on
already did.
SmackDown. They beat the Usos, if you remember.
Oh, I must have fallen.
Oh,
Wow,
that's
like,
a commentary on how well they're doing in the ratings.
like the rest of the viewers. But
Uh-oh.
anyways, my number two,
What's your
ladies and
number two?
gentlemen, Meat.
Meat.
MEAT. Meat. Sean Stasiak.
Yes, yes.
He was, this was, I think, late 90s. This was before he turned into Sean Stasiak, before he went to WCW, and then came
Right.
over with the Invasion, one of the, I think, 30 contracts that WWF bought when they bought WCW. But regardless,
Yeah.
he was Meat, and I think he was with Jacqueline and Terry Reynolds, PMS. I
Oh
think.
yeah, that's right.
Or I don't know
Oh,
if Jacqueline was in
man.
there, but he was called Meat, and
Meat.
I don't know if he may have won like one match. He never won, and the quote unquote story was he was always too exhausted from
Oh, yeah.
pleasuring his girls,
ladies,
Yes,
right?
his ladies in PMS. Nice,
Oh my.
nice names there. Attitude Era. We all love
Right. Yep.
that. And then he went to Sean Stasiak, and
Disappeared.
he disappeared. But he was Kurt Angle's Survivor Series 1999 debut opponent, so he'll always have that going for him. And then he was kind of the fool in the Alliance with Stone Cold. He
Oh,
always tried
right,
sucking
right.
up to him. And then he returned in 2002 as Planet Stasiak and did absolutely nothing on Raw. And then eventually he asked for his release. But the funny part is I want to say he's like 49 or like 50 now. And he's actually like in the best shape of his life and super jacked. And he says each year he sends a tape to WWE. and I doubt they're ever going to reply.
Yeah, right.
But each year they say, we're not interested or whatever. But each year he keeps sending them tapes, and he's still going for it. So I don't know if he still is, but still jacked and still meat.
Yep, meat. Wow, I had almost forgotten about that until you mentioned the Jacqueline and Terry Runnels thing. That
Hey, nothing wrong with Terry Runnels.
No, nothing wrong with that at all. And I mean, that's what worked for him. That's what won him the Attitude Era.
I think he was busted on GTV making out with some other chick, and then Terry ditched him and went to Chaz or Hardy's or I don't know.
Somebody.
Chaz, I don't know.
Chaz.
Nice name. Again, Attitude Era.
Right.
You got to love it, right?
Well, wasn't he was a Global Force. There was a guy named Chaz in Global Wrestling.
He was
Not Global Force, but Global Wrestling Federation in Georgia.
Chaz was, I want to say Mosh from the Headbangers.
Yes,
Mosh
that's
and
right.
Thrasher.
That's right.
He was bald. He was also, was he Beaver Cleavage or something? What was his name?
Oh my, yeah.
Is that what his name was?
Yeah.
Is he on your list now too?
No, but now that it see things that we forgot. I guess these were the ones that I remember.
Well, now I got to know who your number one is.
Oh, well.
Now I'm curious.
You know what? I did a little bit of research and I found out that the character actually kind of transcended the performer because the performer has since passed, which is why I put him as my number one.
Oh boy.
Doink the Clown.
Oh.
Showed up. I remember I was watching wrestling like I always do. I think this was still primetime wrestling.
Okay.
And the character is this clown, and he's just walking around. And there was one point where he was like pretending to like he had a bucket, and he was about to throw it on the people, and they were like, "No!" And it was confetti.
Yep.
Okay. So
Harlem
then he had another.
Globetrotters.
Then he had another bucket, and one of the wrestlers was, and he was like, "Oh, that's funny. That's confetti." And he threw it, and it was water, and he made the wrestler really, really mad, and he chased him. And then there was a point where he started harassing, also passed on from this world, Crush.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Crush.
Brian Adam was his real name.
Okay.
And so him and Crush had this feud where he came up and Crush like got him in an arm lock or something. So then the next week he shows up and he's got his arm in a sling, and you see the finger going like this. Like you could definitely tell it's not real, but they're trying whatever they can to make it look real. And after Crush like turns his back and like kind of apologizes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I hurt you," whatever, and he starts to walk away. Then all of a sudden he takes the cast on. It's a fake arm, and he starts beating him over the head with it. And then they had a big match at I want to say WrestleMania, but no, it wasn't WrestleMania.
9?
Was it Doink at Yeah, it was. And then they had a second Doink show up, and then he did
and then
another
they
couple.
did like the
Yep, they did the mirror thing. That's right. And then he went on to. He was the thing about it was Matt Bourne was the original Doink, and he was
Yes.
an amazingly gifted technical wrestler. He had some amazing moves, and just an incredible skill set. And then he actually had some really good matches too. And then they did the whole the Jack Tunney made the rule only one Doink was allowed.
Jack Tunney needs to come back.
Right? I think he can't.
Well,
Right.
we'll make it happen.
But so only one Doink in the ring at a time, and then so he brought out like the midget clowns, and there was Dink and other I can't remember what all their names were, and then Dink stuck around for a little while.
Lovely mid-90s.
Right, lovely mid-90s, and then then Doink the Clown just kind of disappeared after a while.
I do have a little bit of a story for Doink the Clown. I want to say, I have no idea the year. I want to say 99 or 2000. It was my first ever indie show, so
Okay.
I have no idea where it was. I know my first WWF show was June 2000. That was by DX versus Rock and Dudley's was the main event.
Oh wow.
And that was during their whole McMahon, Helmsley, Rock feud during early 2000.
Okay.
So I want to say the Doink show was a little before, but I'm not sure. But either way, my buddy and I went, and whatever year The Sixth Sense came out, because for some reason I remember either we came back and rented The Sixth Sense or something, but I want to say it was a Saturday night. And Doink the Clown was the big name there. I don't remember anybody else on the card or anything. If I actually dug into the deep archives of indie events, I could probably find it, but whatever. Me and my buddy went. I want to say my mom or someone took us, and after the show was the usual $10 to get in the ring with to get a picture, and Doink was the big name on the
Oh wow.
on the card, and we both jumped in there, and I told him afterwards, I said, you can keep the picture. So I remember it was always on his like dresser drawer or whatever. And, you know, we got a picture with him, and I remember just like getting in the ring and kind of bouncing around. And
Right.
I remember he went through the first rope, and I told him I'm going through the second rope. And so I felt like I was a bigger man because I went through the middle rope. And I was like, I'm going through that. I don't care if it's awkward or not, however old I was at the time.
Right.
So when Doink died, actually, I was writing for the Layfield Report. The website went away, but that was JBL's website. And I was a part of it, and I wrote a nice tribute to him. Unfortunately, all the columns on that website went away, and I never saved it. So
Oh,
kind of sad. It was a nice, touching tribute.
there's
to
got to
him.
be an archive somewhere.
Unfortunately, there is not. And like an idiot, I delete everything right away. So my bad.
Got to keep a record of everything, man. Got to do it.
Either way, the record says we love Doink.
We love Doink. Doink was awesome. He was a good character gimmick for the time. Another one of those kind of I guess they classify like a job character. He was a clown, and
I'm surprised that there was a clown.
yeah. Well, it was interesting because at first when he was a good guy, he had happy-go-lucky music, and then when he was an evil clown, the music
his
turned
face,
real
then.
dark and sinister. Yeah.
And he would have been a very creepy clown. to be
Right.
watching.
Yeah, it was. The music was definitely a
Yeah.
big part of the feel.
Definitely creepy, and I owe, I just owe that to him as my first show and getting in the ring and feeling that, and obviously being hooked from there.
Right on. Now talk about being excited for number one.
My
Here
number
we
one.
go.
Any guesses? Do you have any clue?
None, because you've stumped me already with most of yours.
All right, my brother. He doesn't.
Your
listen.
brother is number one?
Yes, New Moon is number
New-
one.
I mean, I guess that would make sense. Who
Max
remembers
Moon,
New Moon?
Meet New Moon. I was gonna say my guy, but we don't need to do that. But
What up,
anyways,
Noah?
yeah, hey Noah,
Crazy case.
crazy case.
Crazy Case. Fusion?
Fusion?
Ooh.
Fallen?
Fallen.
No.
Whoa.
My number one is a guy by the name of Just Joe.
I do know Just Joe. I heard of him. I actually looked him up a while ago.
He's the funniest thing ever. So
He was Just Joe.
he was Just Joe. So my brother's gonna laugh at this because we still always make fun of this, but yeah, he lasted from like 2000, 2001. He didn't really do anything, let's be honest. And in a world where it was Rock, Stone Cold, Edge, and Christian, Hardy's
How are you gonna fit in?
Yeah, and I
as
mean,
Just Joe.
Just Joe. He did most of his crap on episodes of Heat.
Right.
But anyways, my favorite.
Velocity.
Hey, I love that show. Anyways, my big story for Just Joe, and one like I said, my brother and I still laugh about, is this was when Stone Cold had just come back. This was September 2000. They had just moved to the TNN network,
All right.
which actually I think was still called the Nashville network, not the
Right.
TNN. They had just left USA. So this was the night after, I want to say, Unforgiven, or maybe it was actually Unforgiven. But anyways, the next night, Stone Cold came back, and he needed to know who ran him down from the previous year, Survivor Series 1999.
Oh yeah. Right. Rikishi
Right, Rikishi, and he did it for The Rock.
for The Rock.
So anyways, The Rock and Stone Cold, obviously two major faces. And The Rock and Stone Cold went face to face, and everyone got all goosebumps, and oh man, here we go.
Right.
And then they slowly shook hands, and then and then they have a little stare down. He's like, "I know you didn't do it, but it was your rental car. So
Yeah.
do you have any idea who could have came in? Do you know someone that may have had your keys or whatever?" And like we said, eventually became Rikishi, who was buddies with him. So it made sense. It didn't really work, but it made sense in the story they were telling. And all of a sudden, Rock and Stone Cold are having this big, intense stare down, and it's all great and everything. And they're wondering who ran over Stone Cold, and he's finally back after 10 months. And then all of a sudden, Just Joe kind of pokes his head into the locker room. He's like, "Hey, Austin, you gotta hear what they're saying about you over here, man." And then,
Oh.
and then Stone Cold goes, "Who are you?" And then the guy goes, "Joe," and then he goes, "Joe who?" And he goes, Just Joe. And then he beats the crap out of him, and then he's just like, "Well, Just Joe thinks I'm a piece of crap." And then Stone Cold does his all salute and stuff, and then he literally just walks and turns around, gives Rock a little head nod, and then just walks away. And that was
And
it.
that was Just Joe.
That was Just Joe.
Oh, Joe.
Just Joe.
Just Joe.
I thought it was hilarious.
That was great. That was good.
All right, so you got some honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. Well, I already said Duke the Dumpster Drosy, so we'll also talk about Big Bully Busick. He
Okay.
was basically a guy in a bowler hat, mustache, and a cigar. wore like a turtleneck sweater. He was just supposed to be like your typical 1950s version of a big bully guy or whatever. I guess he was
Big bully.
I guess he was popular in Japan prior to and whatnot. Got brought to WWE
With the
with
stash?
Harvey Whippleman with the mustache and
I'm
kind of beat
jealous.
some people up around here and there and did his thing and then just quietly disappeared. So then we also have the one guy that had the WWF guitar, which if I could find that thing, that would be awesome. Mr. Man Mountain Rock. Yeah.
Man Mountain.
He had a guitar shaped in the block letter WWF logo, and the middle part of the F extended out to be the neck, and I think it might have like lit up too. I don't know, but it was super cool.
Yeah, I see the guitar. Isn't there like it's like an archives or there's like an old building where they
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
I'm trying to think of the right name. I don't think it's archives.
No, yeah, I think you're right. There's some vault that they have.
Yeah, that's like a big warehouse where they have all this
There's
stuff.
there's an archivist page either on Twitter or Facebook, one of the two, and I follow it. And so every now and then they post stuff like they just showed. Yes, that is it right there.
How much would you pay for that?
Well, I don't have much, but I mean, let's say I had unlimited wealth, I'd pay $10,000 for that,
10 grand?
just because of the history.
Would
I
it have
mean,
to be the original one or just
yes.
like okay.
No, it'd have to be the one. Yeah.
That thing looks pretty sweet.
Right? I wonder how it sounds. I wonder what pickups are in there. Anyway.
I don't even play guitar and I want that.
And then one of the actually my next two are some of the nastiest characters from my childhood. We got Bastion Booger,
Aw.
who was just a gross dude. I don't even know what to call his like ring attire. It was like tape.
Yeah.
It was like duct tape.
What was that?
I honestly don't know, but it was absolutely disgusting. And then let's not forget Skinner, who was an alligator wrangler from the Everglades, but for some reason had an affinity for chewing tobacco. And instead of just spitting into a thing like normal people do, he lets it drip down his beard. And yeah, it's just the nastiest thing. I think that's what started. Every time I see people chewing tobacco, it makes me cringe. Just
Yeah.
ugh.
I don't
Can't
like
stand that.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
And then, but it's funny that we mentioned that Steve Kern, who played Skinner, actually went on to have a very prominent backstage role. I think he still does to this day. Still works in WWE backstage. And then my last honorable mention, and I'm going to get flack for this.
Oh, go for it.
Characters that we probably forgot. EC3.
Whoa. Wow. I feel you have a story here.
No story at all. I'm just saying. Does anybody remember EC3? Because I don't.
I was going to say Nikki Cross. Where's she?
Oh, but we like her.
We do like her. I like EC3.
Creepy though.
Creepy as heck. That's the whole point.
She is creepy, and she does it great, but EC3, come on, man. Why'd you have to bring him up?
Because nobody else will.
You know, he beat... Wow, that is true, though. You know, he
Right?
beat Dean Ambrose, I want to say in February when he got called over, and that was kind of the beginning of Dean Ambrose.
Who?
Right. And
Who?
then
John?
Oh, really?
John
Moxley.
John Moxley?
Right. And then
Moxley?
and then the very next week, Ambrose beat EC3. So
AEW?
it was like AEW. What do you think? You think so? Oh boy, what a great promo. So then I think you know, his win over Dean Ambrose was like, okay, Dean's leaving. It makes sense. You're going to lose now to a few.
Right. But then he just
But then he lost right back the next week, and then like I think it was 2-3 weeks ago where Braun just came out and threw him around the
threw him
ring.
around, and he was on Main Event, I think, or Superstars, as if that exists.
Why'd you have to bring him up?
Because nobody else will.
Come on.
Literally, nobody brings him up.
He has the look. He has the music. I mean, I want to say he's the greatest in the ring. He's very robotic, but you don't really
he kind
need
of
it.
blends in and disappears.
He does.
You
He's
don't really.
nothing special.
Whoa, boy.
He doesn't even step in half the time. He lets everybody else do all the work.
Right.
Yeah, we went to a live event in March, and there was a triple threat match with Lashley, and I can't remember the other guy. But, yeah, you see they pretty much played the weasel heel and stayed
Yeah.
out of the ring the whole time and kind of picked his spots.
I haven't seen anything that is remarkable or top 1% out of any of his matches.
Top
Even
1%.
No, definitely not. much all him do is stand around and dart out of the ring. Like, how is that impressive to...
It impressed me.
I mean, why though? What did it do?
Well, if that's what he's doing, that's
Is that the pretty boy gimmick that
that's
you
the
dig?
pretty boy character he digs. And I will quick say, apparently Dixie Carter was in Connecticut filming something. And if they're looking to reboot EC3 as his,
Oh, really?
if
That's
Dixie
strange.
can come and say, my nephew and all this, and he deserves this, and just play the spoiled rich kid.
I guess
I
never
think that
say
could
never,
work.
huh?
I think that could work. Well, Dixie does own 5% of Impact. I think she's like a shareholder or something, but clearly they don't care. And she's appeared before, but I don't think
Right.
she could actually like sign a contract. But I don't know. I'm not going to predict that happens. But if EC3 is looking for anything, then yeah, play the rich, spoiled, and Aunt D, as he calls her, and Aunt D can come and save him. And I don't know. I still am a fan. I still am holding out hope for EC3, but man, that stinks. So I'm going to quick say my 3. And actually, I have a current star who I don't want to say it's a shot at him, but I mentioned it before. But first, I'm going to mention Tyler Rex.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
Okay, Tyler Rex, I'm only mentioning him for a shout-out because he helped me with a column once. So that's the only reason I'm mentioning him. Sorry if I spoiled that.
And a character that people forgot.
Oh, this was a few years ago, but super cool guy, and yeah, didn't really do too much.
He wanted to be with his family. Like, the road wasn't for him.
Yeah, I want to say he's like an insurance agent. He's doing well. So
Yeah.
The other name I will mention as an honorable mention, Nicole Bass. From
Oh, yeah.
Muscular Howard Stern.
I
type.
looked up because I went back. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I went back and watched all the old stuff, and I saw Nicole Bass's like whole thing, and so I got curious
no.
and I looked her up. She had a horrible life. That
Yeah.
poor woman fell into some nasty, nasty stuff.
Yeah, she kind of reminds me of China. Obviously,
Uh-huh.
China, obviously, way more talented and more of
Right.
a career and all that.
More
but-
charismatic.
And my last honorable mention, it doesn't really, I guess, count as a character or anything, but I'm just going to mention it because it still bugs me, and it happened again this week on SmackDown. Paige managing Asuka and Zayn. Why is this happening? It makes no sense. I don't care what they're doing with her and all this stuff. Paige should not be managing Asuka. Asuka should be on her own, kicking people's heads off.
Right.
And I'm going to say it every single week until something happens. Paige needs to turn heel or reveal this is all a setup all along. Whatever story they want to write. It's garbage. And yes, I know a
Wow.
lot of things about garbage, so go ahead and quote me on that one. This Asuka Paige thing and Zayn, best of luck, amazing elbow, all that good stuff. But these three should not be together.
Okay. I mean,
Sorry.
I thought this was characters people forgot, but you obviously have.
I'm forgetting they're even.
Whoa, easy, Chief.
All right. Do you have any other honorable mentions or anything about your list?
No, I'm kind of scared now.
I'm kind of scared too. I'm scared that Paige is going to continue managing Asuka.
I don't think it really matters. Honestly, I like the two as a tag team, but I don't get why Paige is wanting to manage
Yeah.
anybody.
I mean, it's just to get her on TV, I'm guessing, right?
Right, it's
It-
got to be because I mean they feel bad.
She can't
She's
compete.
not suing.
She's
you
not
know?
suing. She's mid-20s and had to retire due to neck. I mean, if you were mid-20s and told, you can't compete, you can't do what you love anymore, it would suck. So this is kind of a consolation prize.
Right.
Corey Graves also in the ring, and he started, learning behind the scenes, commentating.
Right.
So
right.
he's now made a career out of it. By the way, I liked his buzz head. So I
You
like
did?
that.
Okay.
Yeah, for
It's
Carmella.
better than the frosted tips, I'll tell you.
For Carmella, I'm a buzzhead kind of guy. But
Aw.
anyways, so I get it why Paige is doing it. It just, I'm waiting for her to turn heel and join back up with Absolution. That would make more sense.
That seems to be more of that.
And Paige can talk for
Storyline.
Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, who not necessarily can talk too well or have those skills yet. So I'm just hoping that happens. And
Wow, you were just harsh on these people.
it's not everyone. I'm very selective, and just like Curtis Axel, absolutely nothing. But anyways, I'm glad
Well,
you brought this topic up. I liked it.
Just for that, Brock Lesnar sucks. That's all I'm gonna say.
He is official for Saudi Arabia.
He sucks.
He's going to lose to Seth Rollins. Come on.
I'm glad he's gonna lose to Seth Rollins.
Not as bad as Baron Corbin or Lars Sullivan.
He's worse.
Oh.
I don't know if
No
we can
Lars.
talk. Yeah, let's not talk about Lars.
We'll talk about
He's-
Lars. He might go
he's-
home again or something. I
Or
don't know.
he might go home, or he might, tweet
He might
bad things
post
about
things
us.
on forums. I don't
you know.
But seriously, he just comes out and attacks people. He doesn't
Right.
even hasn't had an actual match yet.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think Matt Hardy's going to get that one, and it's not going to go well for Matt
It's
Hardy.
going to be very, very sad.
Very vicious, very
Brock
brutal.
Lesnar sucks.
Hey, how about Brock Lesnar versus Lars?
How about Brock Lesnar fights a cactus? How about Brock Lesnar fights a
What?
scorpion?
Yeah, those two. That does actually sound like a good match. Brock Lesnar versus Lars.
But
They-
who would win?
Yeah,
Lars?
Vince would never put his two monsters.
But if Brock is done,
is
know,
Brock done?
and there's no UFC. More Brock. Goldberg?
Brock can go fight the sun. I just go away.
Yeah, at least the sun shows up.
Right? At least the sun is there every day. You can count on the sun. He's not a whiny little.
Uh-oh. Real quick, I will say Goldberg and Lashley seem to be taking some shots. So is Lashley
Right.
lining up for Goldberg?
I could see that. I mean, they're both behemoths.
And
Is
I
that-
believe
that's
it's
how you say it?
now I believe it's now 3 weeks without Leo Rush.
Yeah, well, Leo hasn't really been. I think he's kind of.
Yeah, apparently he also wants out. So
Yeah, he wants to do his thing, and well, if he can do it somewhere else, then so be it.
somewhere else like AEW, Double or Nothing. I don't know if they would. Do you think they would hire Leo Rush?
I don't know. Who knows?
You know, this was one of my concerns. Not to kind of totally get off track here, but it was kind of one of my concerns is if AEW is going to sign, Leo Rush, Luke Harper, Sasha Banks, Revival. Well, you're just signing guys that quit and wanted out of their contracts.
right?
I
And
mean, obviously talented and nothing against them, but if you're just signing bitter, I don't know, just the whole feeling of it, all these guys want out and then they go sign with AEW.
right.
But they say they only want quote unquote 5% of the WWE roster. That's not,
No, they'll take whatever talent they can get for whatever price, if they can afford it. But Leo Rush, I don't know. I guess it all depends on if he draws money. Like we were saying, what was
He
it
thinks
last
he
week?
can.
Right. Of course, everybody thinks they can.
everybody thinks they can.
Does it
You can't be in the wrestling business without thinking that.
Does it really matter on Leo Rush? Because he wasn't all that big in the scene. He was kind of just the hype man for Bobby Lashley.
Well, he had a buzz behind him
He had a buzz
when he came
before
in.
signing as an actual wrestler.
Right.
He did a little on 205 Live, but, I don't know. I would think he's better as a talker than actually in the ring. What do you think?
I liked his ring work that I saw. As a talker, he got on my nerves, but maybe that was the point.
I would also say, I know his name is different now, but Rockstar Spud is another guy. I think he's better as a talker.
Oh, is
character.
that Drake? Is that
Yeah,
Drake?
Maverick.
Okay.
So some guys.
Yeah, he's I don't know much about his in-ring work, but
He's another guy. But I mean, when you're
he appears
4
very
feet-
comfortable.
4 feet tall and 100 pounds, I mean, I know size doesn't matter. Take a shot. But I would just say that size does matter, obviously, when he's lined up
In
against.
certain cases.
In certain cases.
When you're trying to portray a story.
I mean, Brock versus Finn is fine. Brock versus Daniel Bryan. But if it's Brock versus Hornswoggle, well,
Obviously.
sorry, but
right.
size
Sorry,
matters.
Swoggle, but I know
Sorry,
you're from
Swoggle.
Wisconsin, but
yeah, sorry,
this
Swoggle.
isn't going to go well for you.
No, it's not. So, do you want to? Are we set for next week? You think Money in the Bank theme next week?
Sure, we can do that.
You seem very excited about it.
I'm very excited about
Do you
it.
have any favorites yet for Money in the Bank? We kind of talked about this a
Um,
little bit. Has it changed?
No.
No?
I like I said, with not keeping up like I should have this past week, it's kind of just stayed the way it is.
I'm still thinking Drew McIntyre,
Yeah, I like that.
and then either Bailey or Ember Moon.
I have my 4 picks.
Oh,
Four-
well, please.
4 picks.
Yep. Alexa Bliss.
Oh,
'Cause
Repeat.
She's kind of the reason why I got into watching
Okay.
wrestling. And then Ricochet,
oh, okay.
Finn Balor,
Finn Balor would be interesting with the Intercontinental title.
and
Mm.
Brock Strowman. Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman.
What
Yeah,
the heck?
let's not.
Oh my goodness.
Oh boy, I
That'll
will
be-
say that Braun and Alexa won last year. I don't
Right.
think they'd do that again.
I mean, it would definitely be a story.
I know your man CM Punk won back to back. Nice sweater, by the way. But I'm just saying, yeah, I don't think Braun. I don't know what's going on with him ever, and
Yeah,
especially if the Joe feud's doing nothing. He kind of beat up Sami Zayn and tossed him in the dumpster, and then the next
Right.
night Sami Zayn came out and was fine.
and was fine. Had a triple threat match for a title.
Yeah, which is what he should be doing. Not
Right,
being thrown
agreed.
In the dumpster.
But let's build that up a little bit. Let's
and
sell
Bliss,
this match.
Bliss actually I could see because she seems to be either healthy or kind of getting back in the ring a
Right,
little bit
right.
more. if she's back on the market.
Think
So
she'll cash in right away?
she's cashing in with a new hubby. I don't know who's the lucky guy, but sorry, Buddy Murphy.
Oh, wow. Huh,
Sorry.
I didn't read that. All right, then.
Oh,
So,
boy.
all right, Money in the Bank next week then, huh?
All right, so we are going to do some Money in the Bank stuff next week, and we are going to end it here with our lovely cheap plugs. 411 Foresight Wrestling Podcast on the 411 Podcasting Network. You know where to find us: Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and yes, YouTube. Of course, you know where to find us there. Subscribe, rate, reviews, RVD style 5-star reviews on the iTunes, Apple, all that good stuff. 411 Foresight Wrestling Podcast. Steve Matson, Resident Complex, tell us all about it.
Hey, we got the ResidentComplex.com. There you can find links to get the debut album, North Avenue, available everywhere music is sold, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, you can find it there. And that will do it for me.
That will do it with Holly saying goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye.
And now hit it for the Resident Complex.
This is how it's come to this, and this is how